Welcome, everybody, to the Tipped and Stiffed podcast with your hosts, Cade, Almaraz, and
Jarod, Sturycz.
Interesting week on Twitter, wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, one of the best I've seen in a while because Twitter is usually kind of dead and annoying and
horrible.
Like just disassociative. Everybody's crazy. Everybody's on so many things there.
It's like embarrassing.
Yeah.
My favorite line from the Fiddler song, 40 Ounce on Repeat, is where he says, I got bills to pay, I got pills to take because I'm born and raised in the USA. That's Twitter.
Yeah.
I got bills to pay, I got pills to take. That's amazing.
They talk about how poor they are, everybody, because they all live in New York City, apparently.
Yeah, and everybody on Twitter lives on the East Coast.
Yep. And they're all insane, either alcoholics or like have a steady pill diet.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And it's kind of fun because that produces some really weird shit.
Yes. Not hating.
No, not at all.
I only hate when it becomes a little foamy at the mouth.
Right, but that's when you're getting more to like algorithmic stuff.
Right.
I'm talking about like when it's literally one person,
right,
and they have like 6,000 to 10,000 followers, and you're like, they get like that's their drug too.
Yes,
is that they can just spill out their crazy to like a pretty decent amount of like multiple high schools. You know what I mean? That's a lot of people.
Twitter allows so much more.
Right.
They really do. I mean, you can hate on how chaotic Twitter is, but Twitter actually, their algorithm, their AI that blocks things doesn't work the same. It's a little different. It's better on there. The worst one, and we've been having a lot of problems with this. We've been having the clips for the podcast do rather well on Instagram, no matter really what the topic is. But the moment that we post something on TikTok does not like the Tipped and Stiff podcast.
No. Not yet.
The last clip we did. They did enjoy that, but
they filter for words and like they without context they filter for words. They filter for. I'm not even gonna say them because if we want to,
I don't want to. No,
because like YouTube will filter out.
There's like
too.
3 things we can't say,
and we still say them when it's right in the conversation. But like it's even if we said it without any context, like we're not talking about these things, they would flag the videos,
and that's why they actually do flag it. Well,
we're actually just making excuses though. We're just not getting any traction. Probably we just suck.
We just suck. True. We had to figure out Facebook still. I hate Facebook.
We need to hire people to do this stuff.
I don't want to hire anybody.
We need to hire people.
Someone would do it. Who knows? But
yeah. But Twitter.
Yeah, one of the interesting things on Twitter was Nicki Minaj has been in the news recently, which we don't live in reality, and that's okay. No. We've known this for a little bit, and Nicki Minaj recently went on a kind of a rant on her feelings on the vaccine. A lot of it involving how she really thinks people should just have their own choice to it, which that's fine. But her reasoning for it was because somebody in Trinidad, a friend of hers' boyfriend, had swelling in his balls. That's how the tweet was, and that he was like sterile. And she was like, I just don't feel comfortable with that. And she was like, it was because of the vaccine. And
now, can she prove that? I mean,
no. It's just it's all word of mouth. But my favorite part is that her story ended up on Tucker Carlson. Yeah, which I have to be honest with you, you don't see Nicki Minaj on Fox News a lot.
No.
So when she ends up on Tucker Carlson, hilarious. And
intersectionality has been given a new name because then she saw that he talked about her on his show and she retweeted him.
Yeah, she retweeted a Tucker Carlson clip. A Tucker Carlson clip on Nicki Minaj's Twitter. I never thought I would see that. I never thought that would be reality, and it was. It happened.
Well, then Tim Dillon put it perfectly. He said, we're living in a South Park episode.
Yeah, because they were protesting in Georgia, in Atlanta.
They went on a whole march for it.
They protested at the CDC, like, in favor of Nicki Minaj.
Right.
And like most of the time when people are like, you need to be responsible on your platform, you don't know what your words might do. Right. Most of the time, that's kind of bullshit. Like, no, like for celebrities, but a march happened. Right. Like enough people felt empowered by Nicki Minaj. And
were they all barbs?
Yeah, it's all barbs.
That's hilarious.
It's ridiculous.
That is an episode of South Park.
It's not
that
real.
Must be.
It is not real.
Well, and the thing is, what's happening now? Is it dead? Like, it's not gonna go anywhere.
No, it's already over.
Like, it happened, and it was like it literally was just like an airing of like it just aired. Yeah. Like the scene, the scene just aired, and honestly, that's kind of all the news and most of these things have been for the last year and a half.
Right.
Even some of like the police shooting things, like they disappeared, at least from the news.
Right.
Like people still held feelings and beliefs about it, but like
it's not relevant for the news anymore.
Right. Which is the problem, is they fucking go for that.
The new relevant thing is to get people really mad about the vaccine or make people really happy about it. Like that's the clickbait now. So whatever. I mean, you have my favorite comedian, Tim Dillon, talking about how kind of making fun of people protesting, going to states where they require vaccination at the door. And Tim Dillon's
at venues.
At venues,
where a performer would go.
And Tim Dillon's like, "Oh, I'm now going to boycott all states that require proof of vaccination at the door of all my venues. I will now only be playing mega churches. I will be doing a mega church tour." And it's like you have Tim Pool, which the guy is a king of like bad takes. He
prides himself on that.
It's really weird. Like he was this big like freedom guy, but now like he was there during the Wall Street, what's it called? The Occupy Wall Street.
Yeah.
He was one of the bigger people like recording everything that was happening there with the police and the protesters, all that stuff. But now he's become such a pundit in the worst way. And you know, he talks to Tim Dillon about how like making fun of Tim Dillon for not having principles. And it's like, if you're an entertainer and people want to see you, why are you going to try to protest a law that the majority of those people where you're going to perform agree with and they want it there? Like
it's like it's breaking that separation between like politics and regular life and entertainment. Like honestly, Tim Pool is probably doing something that he doesn't even realize, which is like enforcing something that like the woke left really wants to enforce, and that's that politics is seeped into
everything.
It's that you look at everything and there's a political perspective that is always present,
which is dangerous.
Which is very dangerous, especially when people who are so supportive of freedom of speech and like freedom from ideology, as Tim Pool appears to be and has appeared to be, saying things to rather progressive, like outspoken, like open people, like entertainers like Tim Dillon, saying you need to like he got bit in a sense.
Right.
He's being infected by the same foaming at the mouth.
Other side of the aisle.
Other he's being affected by that kind of ideology.
And the way he handled
it's like anti-capitalism almost.
Right.
They exist with each other.
Right.
They're just feeding off of each other.
And the only reason, like, and of course, where he did it, the platform they did it was on Twitter, the infamous platform to do that on. So it's not. And at one time, I love how it goes, well, I should have known not to take a comedian seriously. You know, you're just here to entertain. Entertainers shouldn't. I can't have discourse with entertainers. It's like, what are you, Tim Pool?
Right.
Tim Pool, what are you?
What are you if not a political entertainer?
Right.
We have those.
Right.
That's what like when like Rachel Maddow gets her hour or however long she gets, like people who have like their own show.
Right.
Even on like One American News, they have shows for people.
Right.
Like even though that's like the whatever.
Well, the Daily Wire does the same thing.
One.
Daily Wire has the same thing.
What is Ben Shapiro?
Yeah. He's a talk show host.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's not real.
No.
Oh, and also there's a huge issue when I'm on my Snapchat discovery feed and Nicki Minaj is on the Ben Shapiro show like poster advertisement, and then when you watch the video, it's like him like making fun of Nicki Minaj.
That's not
it's too much.
That's not that new. Or that's not that crazy because remember when Wet Ass Pussy came out?
But he's making fun of Nicki Minaj for spreading misinformation about the vaccine.
Ben, what?
Ben's vaccinated. Ben Shapiro's vaccinated.
Oh, he's
just like Donald Trump's vaccinated. Just like Tucker Carlson's vaccinated. Right.
Now, now you see that there is a difference between the reality and what you see.
Right.
Yeah, I mean that's the.
Well, did you see
the episode?
Donald Trump got booed at his rally in Florida. He's telling people to get the vaccine. He's like, I got it. I think everyone else should get it. And he starts getting booed. And it's just like...
That's going to be his downfall. I hope that is.
But if you're there and that happens and you can't see through the veil a little bit... Like, the biggest thing with like the fight with the vaccine thing is that like Donald Trump like talks about how making the vaccine in his administration is one of the best parts of his administration.
Right. He said that even while he was in
while he was president.
Like, at the end.
Yeah.
Yet his supporters are for the majority against the vaccine. Or like I guess maybe they're not all against the vaccine, but they're against like a vaccine mandate. That's the distinction.
They're against the vaccine.
Yeah, but like
they don't like
they
it.
Can veil it at least with like a mandate. I'm sure like if they were told what it is more, if they were maybe given more reason to believe in it, they'd be like but I think the fact that it's being like enforced as a mandate, well, they don't trust it because of that.
Did you see? I don't know. I was reading an article about how people who are unvaccinated are costing us like millions of dollars.
Oh wow!
Because
why?
We're running into a problem where we're running low on the blood treatment that we use for many things. I can't remember what it's called, but it's when you donate blood. There's something that they take from your blood that can be used as a treatment for all sorts of things. Like
talking about plasma?
No, it's called something. It's a very medical term.
Yeah,
and I'm not going to remember it. But we're running out of it because the majority of people that we're giving it to is, well, isn't that fun? There's nothing to show here. You're damn right. There's nothing to show here.
For those listening only, we just got a dark omen.
We just got a bad omen. The whole laptop. It's not even that the TV stuff, the laptop stuff. That's hilarious. I find that funny.
Yeah.
We're running out of the this blood treatment that we do.
Yeah.
For what's it called? And pretty much we give it to a lot of people who are in the hospital with COVID. And that's where the majority of our supply of this blood is going to. And
people
we're
getting COVID still getting really like hospitalized from COVID.
Yes, we're giving that treatment to them when it could be going to people who have cancer, where it could be going to people who have, other diseases, pre-existing conditions where they need it. So it's one of those things where they were talking at the beginning, if like you don't do this, like you're hurting somebody else, and like an extent that's true, but now it's like we're getting to like a money thing about it, right? They said it was like costing like the Biden administration is going to put in like $2 billion in order to like give to hospitals to be able to afford giving people these treatments because they need it so much.
Not enough people are vaccinated. Well, it could be that not enough people are vaccinated, but it also could be that sometimes like the new strains still can affect you. But they don't hospitalize people as much with the new strain if you're vaccinated.
If you're well, that's the thing. We're seeing that over time, the vaccine loses its power to protect you.
Yeah.
However, it catches up enough to where you won't be hospitalized. We're seeing the rate of hospitalizations for people with the vaccine is still staying really strong. It's people who are unvaccinated are getting put in the hospital. One thing that came true after our last podcast was that there is now a COVID-19 memorial in Washington, D.C.
Really?
I don't know if you saw that.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, there is now a COVID-19 and this is how they did. It's really spooky because what they did is that they put flags for everyone who has died from COVID on the Washington Monument lawn. And it's just literally hundreds of thousands of little white flags. and then there is a big granite monument that has a ticker on it to just add.
That's not right.
Dude,
That's fucked up.
It's a little weird.
Imagine if there was a war going, or like a genocide going, and they're like, well, it's still going on, but we know it's gonna get more. It's gonna get bigger. We're not gonna do anything about it.
It's a scary monument. It's just so you look at it every day you look at it, the number goes up. It's like the equivalent. It's the physical equivalent of the CNN death ticker.
Yeah, when
they
had the death ticker. Never before did we have that. But
no, never before.
I'm sure during the polio shit they would have done that if they had the
resources,
graphic ability.
Yeah,
at the time.
Every journalist would just be like running around. They're like 6 more.
Yeah,
just like Paul Revere. Just like, we got 6 more. But it is a weird, I think it's good that there's a memorial, a monument. And I think the reason the ticker exists is just so they can correctly give credence to how bad it was. And it's when I saw it, like the video about it, it was at 666,000 when they put it up.
That's funny.
But also, out of all the numbers that, of course, when it comes out, that's what they land on.
Yeah.
But also, I'm sure somebody went to town on that. There's probably 5 YouTube videos on that number being the day they used for the memorial.
There's probably a bunch of TikToks going into ancient numerology and
also,
which is cool stuff, honestly.
Look at the angle of the memorial, and they're look at it, and they're they started attaching it to Egypt. They're look at the corner of it's I
love when they bring in Egypt.
It's always Egypt
because it's always people who didn't go to school to study any of this. Sometimes it is, but very rarely. Those are the ones that are actually good, because the ones that are those kind of videos are cool because sometimes you get ones that are too long,
right? And
the person is literally there's no graphics or anything. It's just a dude who just woke up and it's 2 a.m. He just woke up and his eyes are really puffy.
He's
and his hair is everywhere. He's I just checked the Facebook. I just checked my news and I see this thing about the CERN Hadron Collider and which some weird shit on that, and he's then he goes off for he gets a whole 3 minutes. TikTok gave him the 3 minutes and he's just going minutes. And then he starts talking about Jesus, or he starts talking about
they all
Africa and everything.
To wrap up the thing about the memorial, I'm glad. I hope there's maybe a better one. I hope there's maybe they build a better one, but I think it's really just to make. I think part of me is whatever artist they commission for that definitely is trying to make a certain group of people feel bad for their actions. That is the point of it, which to some extent I kind of agree with. I think some people should feel bad.
Not every memorial should be
a death ticker.
Yes.
Well, we only have one.
Not every memorial should be a finger wag. Memorials usually are more yes, they're to make somebody feel a certain way.
Right.
They're hey, get it together.
Right.
Or hey, come and see. See what was really happening. Like statues of certain war criminals or leaders, dictators. There's statues of them, but they weren't really built. They were actually built to as an effigy of this person, and they were built to commemorate them or lift them up.
Yeah, what was it? Last week they took down the Robert E. Lee monument.
Yeah,
in Virginia, the big one, the one where he's on the horse. Yeah, they just took that one down.
Where do they put those?
I think they're going to put them in a museum.
That's probably fine. I think that's fine.
Well, if you put it in a Civil War museum, it makes sense. It's what are you going to go into a Civil War museum and complain that there's Confederate soldier outfits in it? It's no.
That's like going to the Holocaust Museum and being I don't like that you have pictures of Hitler.
Right.
Here. You have swastikas.
Right. That'd be a weird thing.
This is disrespect.
It's it's the place to enjoy history.
Right. It's a little more of it's a little easier to funnel people into that.
And also, we could totally be wrong about the memorial. The artist, whoever made it, was just we're making it kind of early and more people are going to die. So, let's make sure that we can, still respect everyone. We might totally be wrong. We're just assholes. Really. Can we keep it on the table?
I wouldn't put it past the people who hired the artist, though. Because they chose the guy who was going to... Because whether the artist knew he was doing that or she was doing that, the people who got the artist to do that were like probably leaning in that direction.
I think Wisconsin should have a death ticker for how many people get in like drunk driving accidents.
They do. They put that on the interstate, actually.
But it should have a ticker.
I mean, they have a daily update, I'm pretty sure.
We should shame. Like, now I'm taking it all back.
You should shame.
We should shame people.
For certain things, obviously.
Yeah, I want more things.
I think drunk driving is a little more serious than the vaccine.
Well,
I think it's a little more like a deeper issue than like somebody getting a shot or getting sick or not.
Right.
Somebody choosing to drunk drive and then killing a family of 4 is, and then while they have like a family as well,
right,
is a deeper issue that impacts your life more like, I don't know, it just fucks up your life in more ways than if you get sick and you don't get a vaccination.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest killer in the United States is heart disease.
Yeah, it is, or
it is,
or it was, or it's close with something else right now.
It's the biggest.
There's something that's right next to it. I don't remember what it is.
Cancer.
But it's like, no, I think there's something, but there's something even higher than cancer.
I know that car fatalities in the United States are pretty high. I know that heart disease is pretty heart disease is
really high.
Really high. Because it's because of the rate of just obesity in America. I mean, it is what it is.
It's the sugar.
Well, it's also just the food we eat. We eat like shit, and that's fine. Everyone is to each their own. I mean,
we shouldn't have that food, though.
I mean, you go
to
McDonald's. We really shouldn't have.
We shouldn't have any of that. We shouldn't have Chick-fil-A.
Well, it's more like
what their principles are.
We can have them, but everything should be smaller. Like
I don't think it should be even made like that.
Well, like you look at a large Coke from McDonald's, and like whenever I get a large, like I'll get a tea, an unsweet tea, and every time my coworker will get me a large, I'm like, why? Like, I know it's 0 calories because it's water and leaves, but you get a damn large soda and you just look at it, you're like, this is so much liquid. Like,
this is gonna fuck me up.
Right, I don't need this. But then you remember a time where you get a large Coke or a large Sprite, and you just think of how much soda you just drank in that moment. Like, like our larges should be what mediums are. A medium should be the largest you should get at McDonald's. You don't need anything bigger than a medium. I mean,
what is it, like 32 ounces for the large or 44?
Yeah, the medium is...
I think they got rid of the 44s years ago.
Right. The Big Gulp is the 44.
Yeah. But what's funny is that, like, I used to work at Quick Trip, right? And
that's embarrassing. You're gonna admit that on
Dude, I already have.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you just felt like doing it again.
I feel like doing it again. I'm a sadist. I like to hurt myself. I shouldn't say that. But I was working at Quick Trip, right? And they have those Big Gulp or Big Buddy things.
Right.
They have like a 16 ounce, then they have like a 32 ounce, then they have a 44 ounce, and I think they have one more that's bigger.
Right.
It's disgusting. And there was a few people actually like this that every day would come in and buy the biggest drink of Mountain Dew.
Ugh.
Like that is, and I was like, but then thinking now, I'm like, I learned that, I think you told me this, that like people who were addicted to like certain amphetamines will use that to because you're always addicted physiologically.
You ever see a guy, if you ever see like a skinny guy walking around with like a whole 2 liter of Mountain Dew, that guy most likely was a serious drug addict at some point. Like it's just easier to do that than whatever. I mean, like they're trying to make their lives better, but like there is that whole thing of like once someone is an addict, they're always an addict. They generate this, they have an addictive personality. They become routine people.
Their physiology changes. The chemistry in their body changes.
They need something to do. Yeah. You know, that's why there's so many people, so many comedians are addicts. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I think of Tim Dillon. I mean, he was a cocaine addict, an alcoholic, and when he quit doing cocaine and drinking alcohol, he became a comedian. And then he got addicted to being a comedian. Like, that's what happens.
And food. Food.
Yes. Well, what are you going to do?
You got to eat. He makes it, he dresses it up at least. He's not just eating garbage.
No,
you know what I mean? Yeah. He will not eat garbage. He's a pig that doesn't eat garbage. He's a pig with
taste.
With taste.
He's a pig with taste.
Yeah.
Which I respect. Thank you. This is why we're hosts.
But dude, it's like I was thinking about who was I talking to about addiction? I don't know. I mean, we have some friends who last night I was at a bar. I was at a few bars. And the amount of people who are like just I don't know, their whole existence after high school, they're like my age now, 21, 22, is surround yourself with people who are getting just as fucked up as you are.
Right.
And to me, there's like some sort of symbolism in that a little bit, a metaphor of like surround yourself with people who are as fucked up as you are.
Right. Well, it's emotional.
It's emotional. It's under the situation of going to a bar and drinking, and
absolutely.
And it can be good, it can be fun, it can be healthy even at in the right setting. But like a bar is just such a hyper inflation of that kind of experience.
Yeah,
I don't always like it. I get super overstimulated with that sometimes.
I
in the wrong setting.
I went to on Friday. I went out, and it's just like I like going to places that are more like you can eat and drink there, because
Mm-hmm.
I like kind of being. If I'm with a group of people, I like being by myself.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be involved with everybody else. First of all, if it's packed and you're moving, like you're kind of starting to get a little buzz, a little drunk, and like I have long arms. I start moving my arms around. Like yesterday, I hit someone. Friday, I hit someone's like drink, like while they were walking by me, and they didn't say anything.
Yeah.
But it's like that's happened to me.
Right.
It just happens. It's just like you're in that environment, but and then you're I don't like to drink to get like fucked up. That's not the. I like to. Well, I don't know. It just isn't as. I like to drink just to have a good time, because it just makes me feel more loose and just like fun to do stuff. Right. And then it's like food tastes better.
And drinking to get fucked up kind of lost its sparkle. It kind of lost its excitement at this point.
Well, because when you were drinking to get fucked up before, it's because like you have to get it all in a night, because you're like, well, I'm gonna be home, and I don't want to just drink at home, and like all the friends are together, so it's like let's get fucked up, and then you get destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
Destroyed. I mean, when we did the band together, when we would be in one of our bandmates' basements, and like the days that we would be like 7 of us, we would wake up the next morning.
People came in from out of town because that makes it even crazier. It's like, they're in from. We have a friend who's in Beaver Dam. Like, he's in for 2 days, one day.
I gotta make this a weekend to
this
remember.
This is gonna be a night.
Oh my! And then
a night to remember a lot of times. Even in the winter,
it turned
dude,
into a night that was forgot.
Which is the cosmic beauty of it, in the sense.
Right.
But I don't even want to remember or forget the nights at the bars. Sometimes it's just it really is just like.
It doesn't sound like you're going with the right people.
That's what I was thinking the whole night. I mean, granted, last night was not to go out and like party with people. As for me, it was to like, I wanted to like have some drinks with like one of my oldest friends who just had his birthday. Like I just wanted to see him and catch up with a few of the people. And it ended up being running into like 10, 12 familiar faces who I haven't spoken to, who I'm not that close with, but who I respect. And But that's not what I like to do anyway. I just realized I was really tired of. Like I've done that a lot.
Right.
I'm kind of done with that. It's kind of played out. It's kind of I prefer just going to like when we go to Ron's. We usually go somewhere after. Ron's. We usually go somewhere every time we finish recording.
Yeah.
And
I love Ron's.
It's a good spot.
God, I love Ron's. Do you want to go to Ron's after this?
I kind of do. Yeah.
Nick, you want to go to Ron's after this?
Yeah. All right.
We got
nice. This is our version of brunch.
It really is.
Because I hate brunch. Like I'll go to a restaurant. I'll go to breakfast.
Right.
I won't go to brunch.
No.
Brunch is something my aunts and grandmother does with each other.
You go to brunch for Easter.
You go to brunch
or
for
Mother's
Easter.
Day.
Yeah.
Those are the only 2 days.
Yeah.
If you're going to brunch any other time, it's like just wait and go to lunch.
Wait and go to lunch. Lunch is better food.
We're complaining about such a stupid thing.
I want to complain more. Breakfast food at 11 p.m. is not good anymore.
You walk in, but if you went to
You're
brunch,
ready for a sandwich.
If you went to brunch and you saw like all millennials doing it, you just start screaming like get a job. You just go on table to table like what? You hold the microphone. What the fuck is wrong with you? Just like getting angry. Like who are you? Just start shaking them.
Look at me.
And you're like, how many thousands? They're like, what? In debt. How many school loans? You just start shaking them. What degree? Oh my God. You just start shaking.
What's your degree?
They're like, I'm a psychology major. You're like,
you punch them in the face. You pour their coffee on their head. Break a glass of mimosa on their head.
You're like, psychology major. Where do you work? The Gap. It's like, just run, man. Never turn back. Just go. Just run.
Where do you work? A law firm.
Oh.
But Ron's place is nice. Ron's place, that doesn't need to happen. Ron's place is it's just a bunch of folks. Like it's a folks place.
Yeah, you know? It's
a good mix.
No one out of town's going there,
which is good. I hate going to places where there's like
a lot of people from out of town. Like Mike's on the highway.
Yep.
Highway Mike's.
A lot of people from out of town there.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, that place is
I know we're talking about very local places, but it's we have a very we've been growing our like internet audience, which is good.
Yeah,
a lot of people
want to break out of that.
A lot of people have been following us on Instagram. Are like you click on their profile, no connection. Mm-hmm. Some of them are in like different countries, which is cool because that's one thing that like we talked about. A big reason that we're doing this podcast is not only because we think it's, we have music on the way. And we've talked about this before, and we've been working hard at that. But one thing that's interesting is that a lot of artists don't have podcasts. They just don't do that. Comedians have podcasts. Actors and actresses have podcasts. Late night show hosts have podcasts. Artists, painters, I think David Cho was like the only one.
I don't even know if he did a podcast, though.
He did do a podcast. Oh, he just doesn't do it anymore because it was an insane podcast.
That's where he would he did some...
Yeah.
Wasn't there one where he was, what did he do? He did something for the whole thing where he was
No, not the new one. He has his private podcast where he just talks in tongues. He'll just pick, he's like, what does it mean to be the color yellow? And he'll just talk as the color yellow. But his old podcast, when he was really deep into drugs and stuff like that, was dangerously off the rails. Insane. But he's that's him. David chose
I want people like that.
An American artist. Crazy life this guy's had, and he's just really loving now, and it's cool just to watch him. But
he went on that journey though. I think that's the thing about being that crazy doesn't even define it. Crazy actually makes it seem, it actually downplays it, but that just out there, that just in another world, he got chosen to get to be that vessel for that kind of raw, intense creativity, honestly. Right. And people don't see it as creativity because it's more free form and it's not a solid thing you can listen to or hold, but you can feel it. He's the guy to do that, and we need people to do that. And it's he would never get picked up by some network or anything because that's not what they want people to think is out there.
But when I think about what's interesting with this podcast is that when the EP comes out, which will be rather soon, we're tracking week by week the process of how our minds, the state of our brains are while making music, which is something that isn't being done a lot. You know what I mean? A lot of artists like to keep secrets. They like to keep a mystery about them. And if there's anything exposing that they show it through the music. But what's interesting with the podcast is that we have all this recording of doing that in a different light completely, which is interesting to me. So there's not a lot of other podcasts in town either, in Kenosha at least. There's
not really.
There's Dan Boys. They have their podcast from time to time.
But it's more from their vlog,
right? I know Corey Elijah, the Kenosha Connect group, they have a podcast. And then there was a movie podcast called Real Reels. I don't think they're doing that anymore, though.
There was one that
there was a sports one too, right?
Yeah, but I don't know. There's one that follows Dan Boys or something. They're like a UW school thing, but they're more of a vlog squad.
Right.
But there was one that a friend of mine from high school did. It was similar to that Reel thing. It was called Real Issues, but it was like real, like film reel, because he talked about movies. Is that what you're thinking of?
Yeah.
I remember because I made the outro music for that.
Right.
I was close with him at the time. And he talked about, like, he just would give his breakdown of what he thought about the movie or the series. But it was very niche. Like, a lot of it was about, like, superhero stuff. You know, I think he branched out, but I don't know if he does it anymore.
Are you excited for the Sopranos movie? October 1st?
I don't know. I've never seen Sopranos, so I don't know.
Really?
I've seen, like, 4 or 5 episodes of it.
It's a prequel, so we can just watch it.
Oh, true. And then I'll watch Sopranos. I asked Nick, I was like, we were at a friend's house, and, like, there was an ad for that came up.
Right.
And I was like, do you think that's good? Do you think that would be good? And he was like, nah. And I was like, it didn't look like the commercial looked really shit.
Really? It looked cool to me.
I think the logo is shit, but like it's kind of cool.
You're so judgmental.
I think like the title is so.
You're so angry right now. There's a lot of
there's a lot of anger in me.
We know that. Well, moving on.
Yep.
Sports. We never talk about sports on this podcast, but we need to in this moment because the Milwaukee Brewers are doing very good right now.
God bless them.
Very, very good.
Yeah.
It's actually very cool to see because I used to be a really big Brewers fan, but I think a big support. I was most into it when it was like Prince Fielder, Ryan Braun, Ricky Weeks, Corey Hart, all these guys. Yeah. Like it was just like Craig Counsell, and they had this guy named I think it was Hoffman. He was a pitcher. Mm-hmm. And man, I remember going to a game and he was a closer, and he's actually going to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame for most closers in baseball history. And man, you would go there and it would be like the Brewers would be ahead and it'd be the 9th inning. Mm-hmm. And the away team would be up to bat, and the away team has to get like 2 home runs and then they'll win, kind of thing. And it would stop. Everyone would get out onto the field except for the pitcher, and all of a sudden the screen would go black, like with the scoreboard would go black, and everyone wouldn't know what's happening. And all of a sudden they would play this animation of a bell just ring, and it was so loud, and it had his name and his number on it, and it was just like fucking like a church bell. It was just like boom, boom, and he would come out from it and he would walk. He did not, because he knew he was the shit.
Just taking it all in.
He would just walk out there and people would just lose their mind.
That's awesome.
And this bell would ring and he would kill. It would be it's like the away team knew the last 3 people going out to the mound to hit against him were getting out. Like that's how it was. If he would come out, it'd be 3 no-hitters. Like all strikes, and then the game would be over. It was just like the craziest thing to watch, and everyone thought they were going to go to the World Series that year because they had 2 of the they had one like the MVP of the year. No, not MVP. They had a rookie of the year.
Yeah.
They had Prince Fielder, who was killing it and was a great first base player. Ryan Braun and Corey Hart were like the best outfielders at the time. They had a super strong pitching lineup, and then like everyone was just like They had just like a perfect team. And I think they got to like the game right before the World Series, like 2 years in a row, and they lost. They never went. And it was really sad because it was like out of all the times where they should have done it,
when they had all the cards in their hands, when they had everything stacked in their favor.
But now we're kind of back into that again.
Is it a different group?
Completely different group. This team's better. This team's even better, which is weirder. They're like their win streak, like the amount of wins that they have in front of who's in second place in the league, they were ahead by 15 games at one point. They had 15 wins over the next team.
That's kind of wild, actually.
Insanity. They played the Cubs on 3 different series. They had 9 wins against the Cubs. The Cubs didn't win 1 game against them. It was crazy. Like that's never been like just wiping people out. So like I really hope this doesn't become a case. This is the biggest thing about baseball. because there's so many games. Like football is 16 games. You know what I mean? It's really short. I mean, you know what I mean.
For the
baseball,
team,
they're everywhere all the time. And the problem is with baseball is that the biggest thing is that a team has to get hot at the right time. So there's this thing of like, are the Brewers getting too hot too early? It's like, are they going to keep this momentum when they go to the playoffs? Are they going to keep this momentum when they get to the World Series? And if the Brewers win the World Series, which is entirely possible, they have a really solid team. Their pitching lineup this year, insanity. I mean, they have. This is what's interesting. When you look at the Dodgers, the Cubs, the Yankees, right? Even the White Sox, right? These, even the Braves, the Atlanta Braves. Like when you're looking at big cities that have millions of more people than Milwaukee, their metro areas are huge, right? They have more money to put into their team. You know, when Chicago won the World Series, I can't remember who they were facing off against. But it was you were talking about a smaller city versus the third biggest city in the United States. And when, you know, they were coming up with that 100 years without winning a World Series, that year they spent like the majority of the budget buying like the best pitchers in the league.
Right.
And they just stacked up their lineup and they made it like they're going to win.
Yeah.
Milwaukee doesn't have that money. Milwaukee can't just be like like that. A lot of people don't know that was the case with the Packers for a long time as well, because the Packers were it's Green Bay. It's not even Milwaukee. It's Green Bay. Green Bay is not even the second biggest city in Wisconsin. It's Madison. You know what I mean? So you have Green Bay, and Green Bay doesn't have that money. They don't have the money to just take all that. So that's why they made the people don't know that there's a salary cap for the NFL because there was teams like the Green Bay Packers that didn't have the money like the Patriots did.
Right.
Or the Dallas Cowboys.
Or like somebody somebody who's getting more money could offer something better and get a better player.
Right.
Offer
and
something higher to the player they need.
Right.
And that's unfair to these Midwest players.
It's not competitive.
I mean,
it's pay to win at that point. It's not competitive.
And no one likes that from sports to gaming. Everybody fucking is like, Jesus Christ.
Right. No one likes that.
Right. I think a good part of because if Brewers win the World Series and Milwaukee just won the championship.
I know that's what's crazy. You have two. If Milwaukee has both of their teams,
it'll lift people up a little bit.
Well, Milwaukee's kind of going to blow up a little bit. I mean, it's going to be like if the Bucks stay strong and they have Giannis and they just keep that momentum where people are like, okay, they've just won the championship. They have the best basketball team in the country right now. And then the Brewers win. It's like, holy shit, they have the best basketball team and the best baseball team in the country.
And if they stay solid for like a couple of years, maybe they're not winning every year, but if they stay solid,
it's entertaining. You have people paying attention. You have people wanting to move there.
You have people wanting to move there. You have people traveling there, spending money,
right?
And you have like just more money probably being pushed into those teams, and into like the stadium, into the city around it. Granted, there's a lot of work that could be done in that city to make it more of like a
accessible
fair,
exactly, not segregated,
and not gentrified. I mean, you walk down one street. We were in Milwaukee, right?
Bayview is
there was that one street though that was Martin Luther King Drive, and it was like the most gentrified road I've ever seen.
Right.
Remember, like, it was just weird to see that.
Right.
Like, but that was clearly that's the perfect image of that for the city.
Of just pushing people who lived in these communities, pushing specifically black people out of communities that they were forced to be in, and then they build a community there because of redlining and all that shit, right? And actual segregation, like legalized segregation, and then you like decades later, it's like, you know, some, you know, whatever alderman, whoever person on some committee is like, this would be a really good place for like a 5-story millennial apartment compound,
just a flat.
Right.
Brutalist architectural nightmare.
Right. And they just put it right next to it and they go, well, now your taxes are up and now you need to leave. Because then it becomes this weird thing where the city is like, this area has been designated for other types of people. And that's what it's saying. When when we have irresponsible city planning, in in regard where you can almost make it seem where it's racist, right? That's what it sounds. That's what you're going to make people feel. Classist and you're going to make people feel like the city's saying, well, we don't really want these kind of people living here anymore. We want other type of people living here. And it's just like, I remember when I was reading this book called Sex, Money, Murder, which I've talked about on the podcast before. It's a really good book.
Who's that by? Okay.
Jonathan Green, not John Green, Jonathan Green. Right. And it's about the 80s. It's about the gang Sex, Money, Murder in the 80s during the crack epidemic and how they became one of the deadliest sets of the Bloods, which a set of the Bloods is like the Bloods is like the overarching organization, and then sets are the crews underneath that organization, right? And one of the interesting parts in the book is that he talks about that there was this guy in New York that was really praised at the time, and he became the designer of New York. That's what they called him. He was a city planner. He was an engineer and city planner. And he would do things where he was like, well, we're going to make the beaches better. Well, his way of making beaches better was removing bus routes from predominantly Black and Hispanic communities.
Bus routes that would get to the
beach. He would remove public transportation that would go to the beach so that people only with cars could go to the beach. And it was
there was one where there was an overpass, or like an underpass, that was too short for, like, it was in one part of town that was too short for the buses in that area to get under. Yeah. Otherwise, they'd have to take a large detour.
Right.
Which is weird. That's like weird.
It was like super predatory. Well, what he was doing is that he was using city planning to segregate people. He would take down bridges or he would make it where there was only one way into certain communities. So he would just make it where like
one way in and no
way out. Yeah, that's how he viewed it. He's like, you're in this area and you stay in that area. This area is not for you. The rest of Manhattan is not for you. You live in the Bronx, you stay in the Bronx.
That's a deep statement to do. Like people make statements like that are symbolic of like their beliefs through those kind of actions and that kind of legislative power or like structural control that they might have. And I think a point that we can make with this, with sports maybe being able to lift up a city, in a way. I think it's obviously that's not going to do the entire job that a city would need. It's purely entertainment, but it's also community and culture that are lagged onto it, and it's economic, progression. That kind of, I think that's just, it's going to be an example. It could be like a precedent for like what you should do for a city, like what a city could do. What?
No, nothing. No, I mean, Milwaukee.
What does Milwaukee need more than anything?
Well, every American city needs a lot, first of all. Well, let's get that one out of the way. Like, the cities that are considered the greatest of the world are in Norway. And the reason why is because Norway built their cities with the idea that they didn't build them around the car. American cities are built around the car.
Like the plaza signs, the sidewalks. I mean, these places are too big for people to walk to, and they're not built for people to like travel to and feel like they're walking on concrete next to a busy boulevard.
Dangerous.
Yeah,
but people like there
small cracks and sidewalks.
A month ago, there was a sidewalk that I would ride my bike down every day from school. Every day from school, a kid was hit by a car and he passed away. Killed him.
Wow.
And it's just like that's because the sidewalk is on the road.
Yeah.
It's not built with like safety in mind. We just have a very basic grid. It's got to be this way. It's got to be this way. People need to get from anywhere the fastest. Granted, is Kenosha in the middle of like this kind of like we're a bigger city, but we're not a big city. We're a small city, but we're a big city in the size of Wisconsin. When you have more than 100,000 people, you're a city, right? Like there's people who come here, like our friend from Beaver Dam, when he came here, he's like, it's strange. It's like there is a lot of people here. Like you when you go from the highway and just keep coming into Kenosha, like it just doesn't stop until you get to the lake. And when you go to Milwaukee, it feels like that too. Going into it, but we don't have good public transportation. We don't have reliable, eco-friendly, or safe public transportation. We have three things to choose from, really. You have buses, bikes, and I know that's not public transportation, but I'm just talking about alternate transportation, and trains. Right. We need to make cities more accessible when people are like, if you're going to ride your bike, it means you can go anywhere. Where we actually have roads for bikes in a sense, and they're huge. You know what I mean? They're made
and
for,
not just keep it like a recreational thing.
Right, but that's how we look. America looks at bike trails as purely recreational instead of economic, and that's a big issue. There's no money to be made
instead of like a part of infrastructure. It's more of a part of it's part of recreation.
Right,
it's not serving an economic purpose. You know what I mean? And it can in a way that isn't exploitive.
We need like elevated roads. We need like roads above the road that are like
talking about doing
that are like smaller. We should have sidewalks lifted above sidewalks.
Yeah, and then like certain people get on that sidewalk, and certain people have to go walk on the ground, right? Unvaccinated people are on the ground, and vaccinated people get to walk on the skywalk.
They get to go on the skywalk. No, I mean like buildings could have two entrances, a bottom entrance and a top entrance.
Do you think people are going to climb the stairs to get up to that sidewalk? There's going to be elevators for it.
We're going to have to put some escalators in.
Yeah.
Well, also, I mean, we're not going to keep these elevated sidewalks not for anyone who's handicapped. We're going to allow everybody. We're going to need an elevator somewhere.
It's going to have to just be an elevator.
Right. We're going to need
a
an
little
elevator
pod
somewhere. I want it to just be like literally just like maybe like the size of this coffee table, like where you can stand on it, and then there's a bar that comes out, and you just grab the bar and you step on the thing and you go whoop, and you go through a little thing and then you just step off, and then it just flips upside down and just goes back down.
Well, we'd have to build that like in space, like in like Elysium, how it's like a giant,
right?
Or like the end of Interstellar,
right?
When they get to that, they colonize. Or they build like a whole shuttle out there,
right?
And like you look at it, you're looking at the horizon, but it actually just goes up.
Yeah, because the gravity changes.
Yeah, because they controlled gravity. That's what's crazy. They like, if we ever got to that point, which we probably won't, but we might. We won't. We probably won't see that. Not even Elon's gonna see that.
To be fair, for the moment that I can buy like the black market version of uploading my consciousness, where like there's no back door, I'm doing it. Yeah. If you can find a way to upload your consciousness with no back door, no Elon Musk back door,
no Apple, Google back door,
I'm in.
Yeah. Dude, that would be the ultimate, because then you'd literally be a supervillain. You'd actually be you'd be a cyber terrorist too, possibly.
Also, you would be walking down the street, no one would really tell that you're like a synth. Right. But like they would do it too, where the cops
they couldn't like scan you themselves, because and
cops would still like, for whatever reason, they would like make it where cops have like lower like robot voices. They'd be like, identification please, and then
they speak without speaking, and you hear it in their head, and they try to talk to you, and for some reason it's like denied. Nick's in the other room like, that's actually a big theme in Cyberpunk. Actually, that's one of like the main technological developments.
Be nice to our camera switcher.
I am.
But the fucking sidewalk thing.
He's right.
2 entrances, top and bottom. Like, we got to get people off of being right next to the street.
Yeah.
And we need to get rid of cars. Like, cars suck. Well, they're okay.
Roads need to be... Cars need to be better. Roads need to be better, made of different things. Sidewalks need to be bigger. The size of the ones downtown, in downtown Kenosha, if you guys know. Like, it's... Or like when you're walking by like a school, like at Carthage, that main Alfred Park Drive in Carthage, it's like 8 feet across.
Right.
Maybe 10. That's how a sidewalk should be.
Well, here's the weird thing. It's like you have Elon Musk building his fucking stupid tunnels in LA.
That's where the kids are.
And when you...
Sorry.
Yeah, they're talking about the kids underneath Central Park. Elon. Got it. Well,
Trump v. Elon.
The dumb thing about the whole... the tunnels in LA, it's like... Here you are, you have this idea. You're using this big machine to bore this tunnel. It's not even a bad idea. But the part where it becomes stupid is that they're using it for fucking cars. Mm-hmm. Like, you still involve the car. Like, there's no thought, like, why didn't you... Like, hey, man, you have the ability to just keep making subway tunnels. Like, you have the ability to actually finally have LA have a train system. And it's like, well, we're going to use this to send cars at really fast speed. It's like, you fucking idiot. Like, we're right in the...
What? Is this Hot Wheels?
It's in the same...
idiot.
It's in the same boat. It's like, you could have helped everybody and said, we're doing the same boat. But also, the other thing with LA is that they need to start building skyscrapers. Their fucking housing situation. Like, LA is so big when you go there. It is so big. But it's houses. That's the strangest thing.
Weird.
When you go there... and you're on the overpasses and you look down, it's houses. It's like neighborhoods. It's this, and they call it the suburbs there. Like when Kendrick Lamar in Good Kid, Mad City, he goes, "This is not about how I sell or do cocaine. This is about suburbans and pain." You know, our idea of suburbia is Schaumburg. LA's idea of suburbia is Compton. Those were the suburbs.
Weird.
Isn't that weird?
It has like a double meaning, suburban.
Yeah.
But like that's the trenches possibly. Is that what he's talking about? Like it's
for him,
more...
it's like, no, that's what was the actual suburbs for LA, but then they're not. They're like they're not. They've switched the.
It doesn't have that kind of like hoity-toity connotation that we have here.
Exactly.
It doesn't have that.
We have that here.
That extreme white collar.
So when you're going over the overpass, you're looking at all the suburbs, and it's just houses forever, and they don't stop. And there's like a few little bunches of skyscrapers, but like there is a good part of you that's like, this is dumb. This is way too big. Yeah. It's like it takes 3 hours to get anywhere.
Yeah.
The food's good. Well, I had to be honest, I had sushi in LA and I had really high hopes for sushi, and I'm pretty sure Honada in Kenosha had better sushi than where we went. And also I had tacos there, and I was also like, I'm pretty sure Los Compadres in Kenosha had. Now, is there probably some killer places in LA that I just don't know
about? But it's so big you can't find it.
I can't fucking find it. I don't have time. Dude, there's millions of people there. You can't get anywhere easily.
Dude, even like Tim Dillon was talking about bringing Ray Kump to LA. He was bringing his friend in, and he was trying to show him around. And you literally can't get to everything.
No.
It's so big. It takes so long to get everywhere. Like gas, like the stress of traffic. You got to eat sometime. You got to go home. It gets late. Like it was COVID and shit like that, whatever. Right. But like that's what when I first went to New York City, I've only been there once. I was there for probably like 4 or 5 days for a school trip. And that was, I remember being like there, and I talked about this to you, there will be, if I ever lived here, I'll probably never see the entire city.
No.
And that's what's crazy. That makes it feel like a whole nother country. We kind of have multiple countries in this. And like, that's why it's so hard to figure out how to solve these basic infrastructural problems, is because we're dealing with like 4 or 5 different mega states, like cities that are essentially states themselves.
City states. They might as well be cities.
Within a state,
Chicago's
they're a
city state.
For sure. New York City, definitely. LA, yes.
Yes. You look at look at the rest of Illinois compared to Chicago, 2 different worlds.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you have the Flatlanders and then you have Chicago. That's how that works. Like, upstate New York is not New York.
Right.
It's New York, but it's not the city.
It's literally upstate New York. They have to. Where did we get the idea in our heads that we could govern a society this big, under one kind of rule?
Where did we think that it was a good idea to have one mayor be in charge of Chicago? And then it's like, well, there's actually like committee members. I'm like, yeah, but they suck too. They're no good at their job either.
Hey, don't come at Miss Lightfoot.
Don't be nice to Lori Lightfoot.
I said, don't come at Miss Lightfoot.
I know. I'm just saying, we got to be nice to Lori.
I like her.
Right.
I like her for all the reasons Tim Dillon likes her.
Right. Ill-fitting suits and lying.
But yeah, like, and lying. That's nice.
That's how we run things here. I like it.
Yeah.
I actually like politicians that are goofballs because I feel more American.
I like Trump that way.
That was Trump was only entertaining. That's it. Infuriating and entertaining, but that's why so many people liked him. It wasn't because he had policy. No one. Who's reading policy? First of all, I don't even know how to read, let alone. I like that we switched.
Right. I like that you don't know how to type.
Like,
I like how we switched from presidents having sex with like
the secretary,
porn stars, or like people he's like in professional relationships with, being like, no, you can't like have sex with a prostitute, you can't like with a porn star. And then when Trump's in office, it's like, yeah,
fuck
like,
it.
fuck yeah,
right.
fuck
like,
yeah, right.
Yeah, people are just like, my president's dirty. He says some shit. Dude, it's true though.
Did some
people,
shit.
You know how
good,
everybody was like, everyone's like, the whole the fucking porn star was gonna kill him. Like that was gonna end his presidency.
Now
Dude,
she's
like,
on CNN.
Water on the duck's back.
Yeah.
Nothing. It was great. It wasn't good. It's
an
American
of South Park
for 4 years.
It was, and there was multiple. It was 4 seasons of South Park.
4 seasons.
Yeah. Every month was just a new episode. Every day it was a new episode. We're like reminiscing about it at the same. Like, people were so scared that, and he did take away certain rights from people who didn't want those rights taken away.
This is true.
And
not good.
Yes, all not good.
Well, everyone knows that we don't like him. You have to sit when everything's over. Mm-hmm. You have to, I mean, Jarod, your family didn't like Donald Trump a lot, and they would talk about him a lot. I mean, what if you just walked into the room and you're like, you know what, guys? One day we'll all look back at this and laugh.
Exactly. That's kind of what I wish I had the words to say that at the time. But all I really was saying is he's living in this house rent-free.
Right.
And then he's living in your head rent-free, Grandma.
And if you let us you give us enough time, we'll live in your head rent-free.
Bye.